Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching Chanakya Dialogues English. And who created the Chabahar port? India. So what India is doing is it has circumvented Pakistan and Afghanistan and brought trade from Russia touching Eastern Europe, and these terrorist outfits attack Israel. So when there is rhetoric from Israel, that rhetoric is not wrong. The Israelis are not wrong when they respond. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. You know, something truly path-breaking is happening between India and Iran. The Indian NSA, Ajit Doval, has gone to Tehran. He's met everybody. He's met the Iranian NSA, he's met their foreign minister, he's met their president. And what they are going to do, and what has been finalized, is that India and Iran will trade in their national currencies. Now, this is big breaking news. And I'll tell you why this is very important. There are 2-3 factors which I'm going to bring out in front of you. Number one, to give you a brief background, in 1979, there was a revolution in Iran. The king was deposed. The Khomeinis took over. In fact, Ayatollah Khomeini took over, and then, you know, this whole line of spiritual leaders who have led Iran down the path of the Sharia and harsh Islamic laws, etc. A country that is blessed with natural resources. They say some parts of Iran are literally floating in oil, floating in gas. That is the level of natural resource that Iran has. Unfortunately, because of these sanctions, Iran cannot trade openly with the world. Otherwise, Iran would have been one of the richest countries on earth. It's got that kind of natural resources. But because of American sanctions, similarly in the case of Venezuela. So what has happened is that India, wanted to mainstream Iran for a long time. There are various reasons. Number one, China and India are obviously in a race in the neighborhood and in the extended neighborhood. All over the world, actually, even in Africa, but let's talk about the neighborhood and extended neighborhood. Recently, what China did was, they said, okay, normalizing the ties between, Iran and Saudi Arabia is one of our biggest diplomatic victories in the recent times. China did that, and kudos to China. They've done a great job. Now what's happening is, the embassies that had shut down in both the countries, the Saudi embassy in Tehran and the Iranian embassy in Riyadh, now they're going to reopen. Full-blown diplomatic relations are back on the table, all, facilitated by China. Now, what is India going to do here? India gets to Iran. Now, India has a large Shia population, right? And you're aware that Iran is a Shia country. Now, what is happening is that India created, along with Russia, the North-South Economic Corridor. And here is a map of the North-South Economic Corridor. So what is happening is that India said, we need to get to Eastern Europe, we need to get to Russia, we need to get to Iran, and we need to get to parts of Central Asia. How does one do that? How does one do that? One does that by simply, creating this network, which is rail, road, and sea, right to Mumbai. So the North-South Economic Corridor actually starts off in Russia and terminates in Mumbai, India. That is what India did. And where does it stop over? Exactly. It stops over at the Chabahar port in Iran. And who created the Chabahar port? India. So what India is doing is, it has circumvented Pakistan and Afghanistan and brought trade from Russia touching Eastern Europe, Iran, to India. This makes life easier for Indians. The turnaround time for goods is becoming much shorter from Eastern Europe and Russia. India touches the Central Asian republics without having to go through Pakistan, because Pakistan has been a spanner in the works for a very long time. It would have been very easy for India to go to Afghanistan through Pakistan, but somehow Pakistan believes that denying India means progress for Pakistan. Actually the opposite is true. Had India been allowed to go through Pakistan into Afghanistan and Central Asia, Pakistan would have made billions of dollars per year. Billions of dollars. But apparently the Pakistanis are more intent on harming India than themselves gaining a few dollars. That is the Pakistani mindset. Highly negative. Anyway, so we've got rid of that Pakistan problem altogether permanently. Now, Indian NSA Ajit Doval goes to Iran. He meets the Iranian NSA. He meets their foreign minister, he meets their defense minister, he meets their president, he meets everybody, and they decide that we will trade in national currencies. India used to take oil from Iran, and India has taken oil from Iran for a very long time. Now what India is doing is, it had stopped in between, now India is going to restart. We're going to restart. I'll tell you what is the importance of Pakistan. Pakistanis claim that they are the most important geostrategically located country in the world. I don't know whether they're the most important or not, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, they're pretty important. But why is Pakistan important? Pakistan is not important because of Pakistan itself. Pakistan is important because it is the gateway to Afghanistan. It is the gateway to Central Asia. Now, Indians have been saying for a very long time that once you normalize relations with Iran, you will realize that Iran is also a gateway to Afghanistan and a gateway to Central Asia. Why does one need to go through Pakistan at all? Why Pakistan? What does Pakistan offer that Iran does not? It's just that Iran, because of its own policies, and a decidedly anti-American and anti-Israeli stand, most of it emotional, by the way, on both the sides. On both the sides. They keep on saying, we'll kill all the Jews, Israel will cease to exist. This is a rhetoric emanating from Tehran regularly. And of course, let's not forget the funding of terrorist outfits like the Hezbollah, which Iran does. And these terrorist outfits attack Israel. So when there is rhetoric from Israel, that rhetoric is not wrong. The Israelis are not wrong when they respond. Israelis have the capacity to respond. Now what India is doing is trying to bring people together. And if India can actually bring Israel and Iran together, it will be the breaking of the deadlocks of deadlocks. I mean, this is actually the big daddy of international diplomacy, if India can do that. And I think India is pushing in that direction. How to get the Iranians and the Israelis to shake hands. These are big stakes. And NSA Ajit Doval has got a big role to play. Now, how does this benefit Iran and how does this benefit India? Obviously, we buy Iranian oil using Indian rupees and we buy them at a cheap price. That's number one. Yesterday, we discussed how India has been buying cheap oil from Russia, refining it and sending it to Europe. In fact, we as a country, have negligible oil reserves. Negligible oil reserves. I mean, some people say that there is something in Assam, something in Rajasthan. I don't know. I've just heard rumors. I've never physically seen for myself, nor read any media reports about it. But the fact of the matter is, some little oil is there. But that is hardly sufficient. It's minuscule. So what India does is, India imports oil from Russia and it sells it to Europe, beating Saudi Arabia, a country that is actually floating on oil. So what is the game that, NSA Ajit Doval is playing here? What is this game? Number one, countering Chinese influence. Number two, getting Israel and Iran together. Or let's say mainstreaming of Iran. Number three, buying cheap oil and gas from Iran at throwaway prices if possible and in Indian rupees. And number four, absolutely circumventing Pakistan. As I said before, Pakistan's only importance geopolitically and geostrategically is that Pakistan shares a border with Afghanistan. Pakistan has no other use to man or beast. Pakistan doesn't produce anything. They don't make a pin. They don't make a sewing machine. They don't make a washing machine. They make nothing. Pakistan has nothing that the world wants. The only thing Pakistan can provide is access. Right? But what if the Americans or the Western forces want to come to Afghanistan after a few years? They have not left Afghanistan altogether. They have left for a while. And I'm very sure they'll be back. The world is sure they'll be back. What if relations with Iran are normalized to a large degree? What if relations between Iran and Israel are normalized to a large extent? Then what happens? Consider a scenario where relations between Iran and Israel are normalized to a great extent. They have embassies in each other countries. They're talking to each other. Well, they have their own points of difference over Palestine, etc. But let's say India is able to broker that deal. Then what happens? Then, if the Americans want to enter Afghanistan again or want to go to Central Asia, they will not need Pakistan at all. And Pakistan's biggest trump card access to Afghanistan, access through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan to the Wakhan corridor, access via Afghanistan and the Wakhan corridor to Central Asia, that will be over. And once that is over, it is goodbye Pakistan. So I think what Mr. Ajit Doval has done is fantastic. It's a display of top-notch diplomacy, something that the Pakistanis can only dream about. Now, another news that we're seeing today is India says, and Mr. Amitabh Kant, he is the G20 summit negotiator, the Sherpa, and he says that the world should move on from the Ukraine war and focus on poverty. What India is trying to do is shield Russia during G20 because there is going to be a lot of heat, about this Ukraine-Russia war. And what India is doing is shielding Russia. And this is what Amitabh Kant, the Sherpa for G20, says, that, there's been enough said. And even, there are so many discussions even in the army, what are the lessons learned from Ukraine? And this time when we had the Chanakya dialogue, we stopped talking about Ukraine-Russia war. We didn't talk about it. It's been over a year, it's getting boring, the same talk again and again, about Ukraine, nothing about Ukraine, forget about it. That's it. We are not talking about Ukraine. So we did not talk about Ukraine. Nobody spoke about Ukraine or Russia. We did not speak about that war. We want the war to end. We want the Ukrainians and Russians to be at peace with each other. Yes, but we have stopped speaking about that war. And I think the West's stance on the Ukraine war, right, and the Russia-Ukraine war is driven by greed and not by sympathy for the Ukrainians. They want somebody else to fight the dirty war. They have led Ukraine down this path. Ukrainians are dying. Russians are dying. And somewhere, I think the West is trying to reap benefit from all this. So, India says that we must move on from the Ukraine war, and Mr. Ajit Doval and Nikolai Patrushev, right? They have met, and they have met on defense and counter-terror ties. Doval and Patrushev held a one-on-one meeting following delegation-level meetings, signifying the importance of the strategic partnership. The meeting, that third since last August, was critical to review strategic partnership amidst the Ukraine war, right? All right, Joe Biden reassures Philippines Marcos amid China tensions. Philippines has a problem with China. Everybody has a problem with China. Nothing wrong with Philippines having a problem. Nothing unusual rather. So Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Was hosted at the White House, and US President Joe Biden reiterated his support for Manila's security. China has angered the Philippines by harassing its vessels at sea. Now, you see, Biden says that the United States also remains ironclad in our commitment to the defense of the Philippines, including the South China Sea. Yet there are 2-3 things here. First of all, nobody believes the United States of America anymore. The way they left Afghanistan. Of course, they left under the Doha Agreement. But the style, the way, the method in which they left a bitter taste in the mouth. This is not how superpowers leave. They did not leave. They absconded. They fled. This is a dishonorable conduct on part of the United States. You don't leave the battlefield like that. You want to leave, you leave honorably, and there is a way to do it. That we are not leaving because we have lost. We have signed the Doha Agreement between the Taliban and the United States, and therefore we are leaving. There is an orderly withdrawal. Here, one fine morning, America disappeared. And now the world does not. Should Taiwan take the American protection umbrella seriously? Should Philippines take it seriously? I don't know. And I'll tell you one thing, I've spoken to many Indians at the senior level, okay? Professionals. I'm not talking about elected representatives, I'm talking about professionals, and they feel that Prime Minister Modi's Atmanirbhar Bharat plan is the way to go forward. They say it's very, very easy for us to give a check and buy X number of American aircraft here. But we don't want to do that. Because America always comes across as an unreliable ally. They're an unreliable friend. America will not. You see, if India has a problem tomorrow with China, along the line of actual control, the Americans will tweet. They might even make an odd statement. But they're not going to come and fight along with us, and we don't want Americans fighting along with us. We can manage the Chinese very well, thank you. But the fact of the matter is that Atmanirbharta is required. This is what the CDS also said here. In fact, of course, being the CDS at that senior level, his words will have far, far more diplomacy than I can ever imagine. But the fact of the matter is they said that, you see, if we are fighting long wars, we cannot depend upon another country giving us weapons and ammunition. We have to be self-reliant. So I don't know whether Ferdinand Marcos actually believed what Joe Biden told him in the White House, saying that we will take guarantee. There are ironclad promises and guarantees of America's protection of the Philippines. I don't know, and I'm not very sure. And I would tell Philippines time and again that it is time for you to actually make sure that you get into a partnership with other countries in the region. Countries like Malaysia, countries like India, countries like Japan, people who are in your neighborhood or immediate neighborhood, countries like Indonesia, who have a problem with China and have a defense pact with them. Don't depend on the United States of America. I do not think the US will put troops on ground in Taiwan. These people are so scared of body bags here. They're so scared of body bags, the Americans. And body bags is what is required in war. I mean, when I say required, please don't take it otherwise. Don't think that I'm encouraging violence of any kind, but war means body bags. Are they going to put American troops on Taiwanese soil if tomorrow China walks in? Let's say China does walk in. They were promising hell and damnation to the Russians. It's been over 1 year. Do we see NATO inside Ukraine? No. They're giving money, yes. They're funding them, yes. They're giving them latest weapons, yes. They've also given them a few consultants in terms of special forces. But are regular NATO troops inside Ukraine? No. They have left the Ukrainians to die. This is exactly what they're going to do with the Philippines and exactly what the US is going to do with Taiwan. And these countries need to have a defense pact with other countries, that attacking Taiwan will mean attacking Japan, will mean attacking Australia, will mean attacking India, will mean attacking Malaysia, will mean attacking Indonesia. So when China fights with, let's say, one Taiwan, that nation called Taiwan, when China fights with Taiwan, it fights with everybody else. When it fights with India, it fights with everybody else. That is the concept that I'm trying to explain here. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've liked this video. If you did, please press like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.